Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Amy French of Delta College, and I am here with our reference instruction librarian, Colleen Kothbauer. And I'm very excited. I'm excited about a lot of things, but one of the things that I've been most impressed about was how the library has reacted during this pandemic. And so I reached out to her because I was really excited. I thought, okay, well, we have to know more about it. So let me tell you a little bit about my colleague first. I've been lucky enough to work with her she's been at Delta for over 6 years. She has a master's degree in library and information science from the University of Wisconsin in Madison. But before she was with us, Brazos Port Community College in Lake Jackson, Texas was lucky enough to have her. So they were, their community college was lucky enough to have her. And then before that, she was a children's librarian. So she comes to us with a wealth of experience. And I'm sure that's helped a lot. So thanks, Colleen, for joining me today.
Well, I'm really happy to be here.
I am too. So, one of the first questions, Delta's library has always been this information social hub at Delta College. I remember even when I was a student many, many moons ago at Delta College, that was one of the best places. It had these bright windows and, it was a place to go. So how has that changed since COVID-19?
Well, you're right. The library used to be, I think, one of the major hubs of Delta College, and that has changed a lot. It's very, very quiet there. Students have to make appointments to come in. So it's not the social hub it used to be. But that has allowed us to see some more positive kinds of changes. Mm-hmm. For example, our chat reference service called Ask a Librarian has really had a chance to shine. Okay. We have been experiencing a much greater volume on our chat than before because students can't come into the library to ask a question. So they can ask a question online, which really makes a lot of sense because in a modern library, most of our resources are digital. And so they're on their computer trying to use the sources or trying to find something out at the Delta webpage. And, we're right there. It's very easy to contact us and we're all set up for answering questions. So this is, I think, one of the big reasons we saw an increase in what librarians call directional questions. Okay, directional questions. So in the library, that might be, where's the bathroom? Directional question. But in the digital world, that would be a question like, I'm not sure who to contact about, I haven't gotten my admissions letter yet. Or I'm not sure how to submit this financial aid form. Or my books haven't come in at the bookstore yet. How do I find out about that? Okay. Or even, what do I have to do to come to campus? I can't find that information. And so instead of it being a physical directional question, it's a digital directional question. And we had a lot of those questions at the beginning of the semester. And you might think, well, why didn't you just find the admissions department number and ask them if you have an admissions question? But students, they're not experts in figuring out the intricacies of a college structure, but they know that the librarians will answer their questions and help them. That is, like, all libraries are information hubs, and we answer questions about finding resources, but we also answer all kinds of other questions about the community, whatever the community is. For us, it's Delta College, and we get people where they need to go, to get the information they need.
And that resonates with me because, yes, the library might not be the social hub right now, but it's still the education hub that it always has been. In another career, I was a financial advisor. I was a stockbroker. And librarians were always, I think once a week I was probably calling a librarian because I needed to know what maybe a stock price had been, or I needed to know a company. there was all this. So to me, librarians you guys are kind of these gurus, where and I are obviously our students that resonates with our students, that they're reaching out to you to say,
Yes.
where do I go? What do I do? So, other than that, obviously, thank you for that, because that's a wonderful service that you provide. And it shows how much trust they have in the library, but they also need it for other things, right? They need it for accessing information and journals and books and all
Yeah.
the research that professors like me assign all the time, right? How has Delta filled this important need for students remotely? How are you?
Okay. Well, first, I do want to point out all of our physical resources are still available. Okay.
Yeah.
You can go online, you can use our catalog, find the book you want, put it on reserve,
Mhm.
and then you can make an appointment to come pick it up. Okay. So all of those are still available. However, when you're a remote student, and maybe like me, you rarely get out of your sweatpants. You're thinking, do I really want to have to drive all the way to Delta to get a book? No, I want to have it available digitally as well.
Yeah.
And we do. As I said before, most of our resources are digital. We have hundreds of thousands of ebooks and literally millions of articles available through our subscription databases. Now, these are things you can't access through Google. Okay, this is a common misconception that everything's available on Google. Well, Google can find stuff, but it doesn't pay for it. So if you're using Google, oftentimes students will come up against a paywall or other impediment to accessing the information. And also, Google's not set up for finding academic information, and library databases are. So, so one of the things we do is, of course, we use the chat. So, students are in there, they're trying to find information and like, oh, I can't find what I'm looking for. They chat with us and we help them use the databases to find what they need. Now, this serves two purposes. I mean, first of all, we help them get what they need. That's job one. But we also take time to educate if they're willing, we take time to educate the student on how to use the database. In each individual interaction, we're always teaching, okay? But another thing we offer is something we call library instruction, digital literacy instruction, and we offer a wide variety of instructions. For example, we have a fake news instruction that some of the faculty sign their students up for. It talks all about this new phenomenon. What is fake news? How do you tell if something's fake? We also talk about topics like how do you tell if the website you found is suitable for academic research? Is it credible or is it not? And we also, digital literacy, we also, of course, teach them how to use the databases, because it's important to note that students have always needed instruction in how to use the library. They needed it when I was in school, they needed it when my mom was in school, but nowadays it's even more important because people are used to using digital things like Google, social media, and databases just aren't like that.
Yeah.
They're totally different. And so people can get really lost. Another thing I want to point out is over the last decade or so, Michigan, who used to have some of the best school libraries in the nation, they've defunded school libraries. So many of our Delta students are coming to us now not having had a school library. Or maybe they had a school library, but it was run by volunteers. It wasn't, and the volunteers do a wonderful job, but they're not professional librarians.
Right.
And so if you haven't had a library in your school before, you're just at even more of a disadvantage. You're not familiar with it. You don't know how it works. So it's very important to provide library instruction, digital information literacy for our students. And I have to say that we are so fortunate at Delta Library because we have supportive faculty. This semester, it's not even November yet, and we've had over 60 faculty sign their classes. 60 classes signed up for library instruction. And I'm expecting 20, 30 more in November. So that's just really, really being able to work with faculty that way. I'm so appreciative of that because they take time out of their class to have their students use the library instruction. And I just, they value it and they know it's important.
Yes.
Now, I do want to point out, before pandemic, we did most of this in person and we changed all that over and now it's all online.
I'll tell you from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for everything that you guys do for us because one of the things that I love and just viewers, so you can know the kind of the inner secrets of an online class, thanks to the hard work of various librarians at Delta College, they've created these library guides. And so it's wonderful for me. They've created them for specific. So for history, for instance, I teach the American history classes and Michigan history, which of course is in America. But they have different guides for us. And it's wonderful. It shows exactly the databases. And they've created these wonderful PowerPoints that I have uploaded then. So I can have a whole research module that leads them and hopefully, kind of ushers them through. So thank you. We're so happy about that.
Well, it makes a big difference. And I've had several faculty members say to me that the resources that students find to write their papers with are so much better when they have library instruction. Yeah. So when they have the power of that knowledge, they're finding better sources, they're writing better papers, and they're better educated. So it is pretty important.
A win-win. Speaking of the library, though, the physical space, how has that changed now since March?
Well, that is a huge change. Like we talked about earlier, it used to be a social hub. Yeah. Now you have to make an appointment to come to the library. The door is locked, which I got to tell you, the librarians were like, what? Yeah. That's not what libraries do. But there's a doorbell. So they ring the door. Students can ring the doorbell. We know they're there. They're not standing out there waiting for us. And then they come in, and of course, everything is socially distanced. So it's a lot different. And I know libraries are supposed to be quiet, but this is really, really, really quiet. So one thing that we have noticed, though, because at the beginning of the semester, all the librarians were kind of like, the library has to be open. Students have to have access to computers and internet. And we thought that was going to be the biggest thing. And some students are using us for the computers and the internet. But I have to say, the college has done such a great job at getting technology to students who needed it so they can do their work from home remotely. That one of the things we've noticed is the students who come, a lot of them are coming for a quiet place, which makes sense. I mean, if we're all crammed into our houses together because of the pandemic and we can't go anywhere, I mean, how are you supposed to get any studying done? Right. So lots of students are coming for a quiet space. Now, another thing that changed that I really kind of want to brag about is at the beginning of the semester, our manager, Michelle Pratt, she was in a meeting and they were talking about spending the CARES money that Delta College received. And they were buying a bunch of science kits, chemistry kits, biology kits, things like that. So students could take their labs and their chemistry classes and such remotely. And they bought all these kits, which was great because that not only saves the students lots of money, but then they can be reused year after year and it's more efficient. But at that point in the meeting, they're like, but how are we going to get the kits to the students and get them back? And Michelle was kind of like, hello, that's kind of what libraries do. And so I was so impressed with our circulation staff, Michelle and Tina and Vicky. They distributed almost 2,000 items at the beginning of the semester. And now they're going to collect those again at the end of the semester. So, and get them all together again and then redistribute them in the winter semester. So shout out to them. They did a lot of work this semester.
Can you tell we love our job, love where we work? Can you tell the pride? I'm glad you brought up about the CARES Act and how dedicated, because that's one of the things for me as an online instructor. Before I would still taught a lot online. I've dedicated a lot of professional development in over a decade now, actually, of professional development to teach online. And one of the things is that before this, I always knew the students who were opting into an online classroom because they had all the resources to really do well online. And then the pandemic changed that. And so I'm really proud of our college for appropriating funds so that students are equitable. It doesn't matter if they come from a rural area where maybe they have spotty service or another area where they're just not serviced, that they have this. And I have to say, for not using the physical space in the same way, I was on campus earlier this week and I walked by and you guys had still the most inviting windows on campus. And there was a little display and and I looked at it and I said, and they're still rocking it. They're still rocking that. I want to go to the Delta College Library. I still think of this as the place where, education happens, where, we bring alive, we bring things alive, because what does reading do for us? It transports us to different eras and to different, it takes us into different times and allows us to dream and imagine. So yeah,
Meredith put together that wonderful display. And I do want to point out, this is another thing we've done, is we've started creating digital displays that are on our webpage. So if you were used to walking through the library and seeing the new books, for example, now we've shifted our purchasing, of course, more to ebooks. So we're buying more new ebooks, and we have a digital display on the web page, the library homepage, that you can see all the new stuff, for example.
That sounds like a good segue into my final question for you. The last thing I was thinking about was what kind of new opportunities, though, because we've talked about, how one kind of adapts, but obviously in anything out of bad comes good often too, right? And out of, we have technology comes out of often, because we need it. So what new opportunities have come your way because of
the digital displays is a good example. And I totally agree with you. It's like you're rolling along and you're doing your thing and it's easy to get in a rut. Yeah. Something like the pandemic comes along and you've got to rethink everything. And I'm sure that has been the same for teachers as well. Like, you've found some things that are like, oh, I like this better. I don't like this so much, but I like this better. One of the things that has come forward is the Change Your World Week website. Now, Change Your World Week is a program that happens every semester at Delta College. And this is where groups of students, along with their classmates and their faculty members, they pick an issue. Some of the issues are like how to vote on election day. Mm-hmm. Or some people are doing things like Parkinson's disease, raising awareness about Parkinson's disease, or maybe a particular political race, like the race for the US Senate in Michigan. And they are going and compiling information, and they get information. And then in the past, we used to have a week where there would be tables lining the hallways, and the tables would be all decorated, and the students would be out there, and you could walk past and you could ask questions. Hey, I'm interested about this. Can you give me more information? Okay. Well, of course, we can't do that this year because, we need to be safe. And I was in the committee meeting, and last semester, when of course last semester was crazy, right? So because Change Your World Week was supposed to happen in April, and the college closed in March. And Lisa Lorison and the Change Your World Week committee, they did a great job. They put it onto social media instead, and they had their students make a social media page. And I thought that that was awesome. But we were in the committee and we were talking, and they didn't really like the social media page because a lot of students don't want to have a social media account. And they had to make an account to have a page. And I said, well, the library has this service called from SpringShare, which is a company that makes computer software for libraries. And you know those research guides you were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, those are just little web pages, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, maybe we could have the students each make their own research guide web page instead. And the members of the committee liked that idea. So that's what we're doing. So right now we have probably over 40 accounts I have for students to go in and make a web page. And of course, that's not all the students though, because not every student has an account. They're working together in a group. And so it's probably more like 50, 60 students are involved in this. And that is going to launch next week. So the webpage is still under construction, but the students are busy getting all of their information into the webpage. They can put text, they can put, well, anything you're used to seeing on a webpage.
Yeah.
And there's even a polling function. So they can get a little engagement with their readers by hosting a poll to ask a question. So that has been kind of exciting for me. I'm organizing that, and I'm excited to see how that will work. And, you know, even when things go back to normal and we have the tables, maybe we'll still have websites too.
I hope so, because by the way, brava on that one. I have it, you know, for the Humanities Learning Center's Facebook page, I always load up, well, I guess now people know what I do. I load a week in advance so I know what day things are going to be launching, and tomorrow launches Change Your World Week. So, but I will also put that link, I'll put the Delta Libraries link below in this YouTube description box. So those of you who are doing this and you wanna see what's going on at Delta College, you'll be able to, because we are really proud of everything that's going on. Well, thank you, Colleen, for joining us. One of the, you know, we talk about how do we react, right? And one of the things that as the director of the Humanities Learning Center, I used to do all our events on campus, and now I do them from my lovely home office. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I get joined by a lot more people these days because I think that this has allowed, this is one of those great things that come out of necessity, right? Out of this necessity allows me to have these little in-depth conversations and film them. Could I have done it before? Sure. Did I think of it? No. So now I get to spend time with you. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much for having us.
This is Colleen Kothbauer. Oh, we are so happy. Colleen Kothbauer, she's a reference instruction librarian at Delta College. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day.